Boo! Bet you didn't see that one coming. So, you know how I promised Orcs last video? Nah, I'm going to do Night Lords, because I feel like it. And also because I'm still writing the Orc video. Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm not great at time management. Anyway, this video is about why the Night Lords are the best traitor legion. With, why you should start, like the Black Legion. This is obviously my opinion, but since I'm the one making the video, my opinion's better than yours. Once again, just having a laugh. But yeah, so this is in this video why Night Lords are the best traitor legion. So the 8th Legion of Night Lords were originally the Emperor's terror troops, so they didn't really change much with the reuniting of their Primarch. But unlike the decrepit, serial murderers and other things that probably aren't safe to mention on YouTube, they were actually the prisoners' kids on Terra, who, due to living in such a dark environment, they could see in the dark, and essentially they had a very twisted sense of justice. It was only black and white, right and wrong, compared to another, like different shades of grey. You were either innocent or guilty. Which, this was even before they got the gene seed of their Primarch Conrad Kurz, which is honestly pretty cool. So that's their main origins on Terra. They weren't really mass-produced like the Iron Warriors or the Dark Angels. They were definitely more a special version of the old Space Marine legions, like similar to the Raven Guard and the Salamanders. So, I'm not a big fan, I'm just going to go and say this right now, I'm not a fan of the current Night Lords, due to just how evil they can be, just for the sake of, I like being evil. There's no, I have to kill you because you're evil, it's none of that kind of stuff. The reason they did turn, though, I kind of get, the Imperium shunned them, because their warfare was too destructive. Even though the warfare of things like the Imperial Fists, or the Ultramarines, or the Blood Angels wipe planets clean compared to the Night Lords, who, would ruthlessly murder 800 people and scare the rest of the planet into submission. And it has been said that the Night Lords had the lowest enemy casualty rate at the start of the Great Crusade. Towards the end, they just started killing people for the hell of it. But then they were shunned. And Conrad Kurz tried to talk to his brother about his problems and tried to seek brotherhood, and they just turned on him. So they never really fell to chaos like the others did. They only sided with Horus because they would screw over the Imperium that hated him so much, and then they'd just go off and do their own thing, which I find really interesting. So, before we get into what makes Night Lords cool on Tabletop, let's talk about a few of their awesome characters, because I will go out and say they have some of the best traitor characters. So let's start with Sevatar, the GOAT. He is actually goated. But anyway, Sevatar was born on Nostromo and was just before all the criminals started being put into the ranks of the Space Marines. This man was really evil. He was the first Space Marine to say death to the False Emperor at Istvan 5, I'm pretty sure. But he was evil. He would kill people, ruthlessly. He was sadistic even for a Night Lord. But he had a very twisted sense of honor. So when he eventually got captured by the Dark Angels, he befriended a little psyker, a psyker girl in his jail. Because he was also a psyker. But when the Dark Angels, I think they were Marines, or the prison wardens were really abusing her, he immediately broke out of prison and just ruthlessly beat this guy within an inch of his life. Didn't kill him, just within an inch of his life. And as soon as he'd done that, he immediately walked back into his cell. He didn't bother trying to escape or anything like that, because he believed that this was his fate, because that's what he'd seen in his visions. Another really cool character is Talos. He's in the same boat as Sevatar. He's evil. There's no denying that he's evil. All the Night Lords are hella evil. Except Talos cared for his men and cared for his servants, or slaves. When he was going to face Janzar and he knew he was going to die, he let his slaves go, and then when two of his slaves had a kid together, one of the Marines was about to kill them for like, insubordination, and Talos was like, yeah, just bugger off, Marine, and then proceeded to like scold the couple. As well as like he had a brother fall into Khorne that he tried to support. All around, Talos, despite being really evil, like he had a flinching power sword. Yeah, he was somewhat of an honourable person. And also, there was quite a funny thing. He's met both Abaddon and Huron Blackheart. Huron Blackheart, for those who don't know, is essentially the better Abaddon. Not game-wise, but lore-wise, he's better as a character. He insulted Abaddon, like, you know how the like boys insult each other, and Abaddon shot him in the face and threw him into the warp, and this Talos survived this. Then he did the same thing to Huron, and Huron laughed it off as a bit of friendly banter. So you can kind of see that Talos, despite being evil, has still got a bit of sense of humour and sense of justice. Now, let's get into the tabletop do's or don'ts. So, why you should start Night Lords on the tabletop. I mean, first off, just look at this model. Look at the colours. It's beautiful. The lightning bolts, they are probably the most badass looking traitor legion. Whereas Emperor's Children look really beautiful, because that's their whole thing. Night Lords look badass. They're quite easy to paint, just a bit of blue, a bit of gold or silver, depending on how you feel. And then, if you look online, the lightning bolts aren't too hard to do. They'll need a bit of practice, but once you get the hang of them, they can look really nice. As well as that, you can actually use a lot of heresy stuff with them, because lore-wise, they aren't really chaosy, which is really weird when I get into some of the rules stuff. But yeah, so you can use some of the heresy stuff. Now, speaking of the rule stuff, their Legion trait is they get +1 to wound against units that are under half strength, which, jeepers, that's really good. It essentially lets you finish off squads with relative ease. Like, you have your bolters wounding most things on 3s when they're under half strength, which, let's be real, no one can complain about. And then enemies subtract 2 from their leadership tests and 1 from their combat attrition. This is big. This army can make morale an actual threat in 9th edition. Once 10th comes around, I'll have to redo the whole thing. But for 9th, they can make leadership threatening, which is massive. I feel like they actually feel like how they do in the lore on the tabletop, which is just so cool. Some key units you'd want to run is like Possessed, all the demon units, because demon units provide an additional -1 leadership, so your leadership goes to -3, which is really ironic to me, because like the Night Lords love their like not being chaosy. Like, most of them aren't worshippers of chaos, they're just pirates, yet the demon units are the most synergized with them, because also with this leadership debuff you need to be within 6, which is where most of the demon units want to be. So it's really weird, but I always find that really amusing. Now let's talk about why you might not want to play Night Lords, starting with lore. They have no redeeming qualities. Like, okay, there's a couple of characters who are badass and like likable, but you cannot have a heroic Night Lord. They are scum, they are cowards, they are dirty fighters. If you don't like that, you're not going to like Night Lords. And when I mean evil, I mean evil. Similar to my Drukhari point, actually. Like, there's nothing redeeming about them. You are the bad guys. Also, they are quite grimdark, so if you're not a big fan of like your Chaos Space Marines like going up someone and like doing some very violent acts that probably would get me demonetized for explaining, probably not your thing. Also, if you don't like blue, and you don't like bats, or you don't like lightning-looking things, probably stay away from them as well, because that's the whole thing. And if you don't like, I don't know, the Horus Heresy lore for some reason, they feature more prominently in the Heresy than they do in 40k. So that's probably all of the reasons, lore and table, like painting-wise, you wouldn't want to start them. And now on to the tabletop downsides, because there's a couple. 1, you need to be close and personal. Now that's usually fine, but you don't have any melee buffs really, or close range shooting like. Whereas Black Legion thrive up close. Night Lords thrive up close, but can get pretty screwed over by melee heavy armies, which kind of hurts. Also, if you're fighting something with high leadership, or something that doesn't need to take leadership tests, like Custodes, Imperial Knights, or anything also small model count, like Custodes, Imperial Knights, Wraith units, sometimes other Space Marines, but not really. Grey Knights, anything very elite, you're going to struggle against because they're never going to be at half strength to a point that matters. And leadership, they can kind of just be like, okay. Also, other Space Marines, like non-traitor ones, they ignore all combat attrition modifiers. So a third, there we are. A third of your Legion trait is just useless. Now, I know that I said in my previous point that like Possessed and all that really thrive with these dudes, but if you've got nothing to support the Possessed with, they can fall over. So they are, surprisingly, they are quite a tactical army, and reflect also they don't like fighting people harder than them in the lore. Obviously, if you fight a Custodes player, it's not an instant loss. It's more, you just need to take into consideration that, I need to play as if I don't get my sub-faction abilities. So there's that. Also, one other tabletop flaw they have, no name characters to speak of. Sevatar not being playable is fine, because he's dead. But Telos, like, I know he's dead, but, like, so is a lot of other characters that are playable. Like, hell, Captain Tycho's dead, but he's still playable. I think a cool Telos model or conversion would be awesome. If you guys actually have a Telos conversion, that would be sweet. I'd actually really love to see that. But yeah, if you want to play named characters and have like a book fluffy list, Night Lords probably aren't the army for you. That's going to do it for my gushing about the Night Lords video, essentially. I like making videos where I just like simp for a faction with the mini why you should starts. Good laugh. But no, I'm real sorry that this isn't the Orc video, but I am working on that, just getting the script written and all that. Night Lords one was pretty easy to do because I had a lot of free time at my other job. But anyway, so yeah, thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Also, thanks for the old reception on the Black Legion video. I did not expect it to do that well. But anyway, I won't take up any more of your time. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.